This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. It's a lot of stuff to talk about. And when I have stuff to talk about, when I need to yap about the current situation of the Cleveland Browns, I'll bring on one of the best yappers, at least on the east side of the city, G. Bush. How's it, man? How is it? How you doing, man?
Listen, I don't know if that's a compliment or, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never been called a yapper, but at least I'm gonna be good at it. I'm gonna be like the best at it.
We are in the yapping industry. What do you mean? Like this is like we call it, if we play ball, this is like he can hoop. Like, yeah, that's a compliment. We are in the yap. Our entire ability to sustain ourselves financially involves us yapping. Like,
that is wild. That is crazy. Like, can you imagine? That is kind of the way you break it down. Like I guess that is though. Like, I could pay my bills by doing this. That's wild. Like,
hey, look, every time one of my brothers and sisters say I talk loud, like, you don't complain when the check come in. It's just what I got to do to get the job done. So no, I don't ever mean that as an insult. Now, if I say you're just yapping, that do mean, you know, it's levels. It's levels.
Yeah,
we ain't got to explain it to everybody, but you know, when it's us, two professional yappers.
Yeah. Listen, we know how to
no insult.
We got to bring it up, bring it down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, this is somebody who ain't yapping for a living, talk about you yapping. All right, now that's disrespectful. You know, You got to play the context. You got to play the context. But we're not gonna yap too much about non-Browns related things. This is not the middle of July anymore. There's a lot going on. There's an Aiyuk trade that may or may not happen. Hell, we might find Tupac.
We got people injured. We got Stefanski calling. Stefanski is calling. I owe you $20 too.
Oh. That was the easiest 20. Right? I told you didn't want to do that before you did that too. Somebody get the video clip of when he went and said that to me, because I remember telling, I'm like, gee, he's not gonna give up the play calling. He was like, you so dead sound. Like, all right, bro, 20. But you know,
I'm gonna get you. I actually want to do it too. I would actually want to do it on air. Like, because like I don't want people to be thinking like G. Bush is fraudulent. A Lannister always pays his debts.
What is a Lannister? I've never heard that term. Can you explain it to the audience?
Listen, if you know, in the comment section, put down, listen, this is a Game of Thrones reference.
Oh, that's why I don't know. I don't watch that dragon show. I don't do that. Yeah, I don't do medieval. Like, that's the one level of nerdiness I'm not with. I would do space. I will do time travel. I will do retro future. Okay. I will not do medieval, Middle Earth, anything that remind me of Lord of the Rings, dog. I'm out. I'm good. I'm good.
Listen,
I don't do no Ren Fair.
Shout out to the you know, the Lannisters and Game of Thrones. I mean, you know, I believe they're the richest family. I don't know. Some people would say the Tyrells are a little rich, but you know, shout out to them too. But there aren't many Tyrells left. But they're the richest people. So when you're rich, a Lannister always repays his debt. So don't be known as one of those guys out there that be losing bets, be taking L's, and don't pay your debt. So I'm gonna get you that 20. I don't know what you
went to school.
You in a risky part of town. The 20 might not go very far. That 20 will get you. I don't know what's gonna get you there, but you got it in your pocket.
Look, me and G. Bush went to college like 20 years apart, but we both know people who played football. So we both know dudes who still owe us $20. Like, especially, you played on the D line. You might still owe somebody $20 because it's always the D linemen on the football team that owe somebody money, and you know why they get away with it, right? Because they're the biggest dudes on the campus. Like,
see, what I try to do is, here's the way I think about it. $20, if I owe you 20, if you owe me 20, that means it's just we laugh and joke. $20 to me is free, right? Because generally speaking, like, if I'm gonna go somewhere, we treat each other. That 20 is a couple beers. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's I get you one, you get me one, whatever the case may be.
I ain't tripping over 20.
I ain't tripping. But when it starts to get to 50 and the hun, like,
you know what it is? It's when you expect the 20. That's when it becomes a problem. Right. Like you ain't even say nothing. Like you ain't even hit me. Like you gotta at least hit me with the, hey man, like, can you do me a favor? Like at least one of those. If you just sitting there like you just ready to eat, about to order. Like hey, what? What you think this is?
Get that face. Or I don't like to be in that. Listen, brothers, I don't like to be in the middle ground. I don't like being Middle Earth. If I'm going to go to a restaurant, I'm going to let it be declarative before we go out. I'm like, yo, we going to go out. I'm going to treat you like it's on me. I don't like to get around, and I like to be cut dry and clear with what's going on. I don't want to get you that's a party foul. Don't get nobody else out there and then have them looking crazy, because then you'd be like, yeah, bro, I thought this was what we doing here? What we doing?
Last thing we'll say on this topic, then we'll actually start talking about the Browns for those of y'all who are more football focused. There's another tier to this that you unlock once you become in your 50s. I have learned because, when I go out and I do something with my girl's parents, especially her dad, it's always a debate about who gonna have to pay. And it's never the debate you think it's going to be, right? It's never, oh, do I got to pay or you got to pay? It's not, who going to pay, right? Like, if you fighting over the bill, over who going to do this thing, because it's just a whole gesture, the balance thing. And it's like, oh, can you do it? So I don't want to think I can't do it. But then he don't want me to think that he ain't going to do it. So now it's like, should I accept it? Look, that's a whole nother realm, a whole nother conversation, a whole nother YouTube channel. But anyways, let's get into the Browns, man. We'll start with the stadium first. Me and you, I think we have a unique perspective of this. I grew up in Maple, so it's east side of Cleveland because there's no such thing as south side of Cleveland. We don't call it that, right? Like
that's Canton.
Some people kind of throw it in there with Heights, like the Heights area, but then the Heights is Cleveland Heights, so it's just like plain Jane east side of Cleveland. Like you live on Lee Road, you've been around Libby, you know what it is. Like we've gone to Sharks. Like we know what the east side of the city is like. And I think some of the legitimate concern about the stadium moving to Brook Park is from people who are on that side of the city, because it might not be as accessible as the old stadium was, because you know how it is. Well, I don't know if you ever took the bus while you lived in the city. But you can take the 90 and you get to Tower City on any bus, right? That's not really the case with Brook Park. So from that perspective, and maybe we should have had Earl on, because Earl would have been good at this conversation too.
He probably done walked, rode his bike, done all kind of stuff from the east side.
I'm pretty sure I seen Earl. Like we just didn't know it.
I'm pretty sure you guys have done things together.
We have met and not known it.
Yes, you have been around.
Because when he went to Warrensville, right?
His daughter go to Warrensville. I don't know where he went to school at. I just be like, you went to Cleveland schools, all of them. I think he went to 6 of them.
Damn,
I think he bounced around.
That's crazy.
Or I could be just making it up.
You might, but I think there is some part of that argument that does make a lot of sense. My thing to that is that's why it makes sense to put pressure on the Browns in the city to build out the transit, right? Because I think that everybody wins when you do that. Because I know a lot of people had to work on the west side when I was living on the east side, and they would have to take the 90, Tower City, and you had to take Tower City and then like jump on a different line. Basically, you would have to take like 4 hours of buses to get to your job in Richfield or something like that. And it's kind of ridiculous. So I think this is a good opportunity to have people like push for, okay, if you're worried about it being difficult to get to the west side, let's fix some of these transit lines. Let's make it so it's more accessible for both sides of the city to come there, instead of just like complaining about, oh, it's no longer going to be downtown. Because even then they were doing stuff to make that not as accessible by getting rid of the stop that they had right in front of the stadium with the Rapid. Yep. So I think those concerns are valid. The concerns that I find completely invalid are the concerns about like everybody's, like some people's preconceived notions of what an indoor team is now. And to me, I just find that to be a pointless distinction to make in modern football because we don't do it anymore. Like, this is not the greatest show on turf, the 90s, the early 2000s, where it kind of made a difference, but not really. It was always just a perception thing. You played against Minnesota when you was in college. Did they feel soft to you? Like they was a dome team?
Listen, hey man, for the people that put their hand in the dirt on every single play, there is no such thing as a dome team. Like, again, when you're on the up front and you're on the defensive line and the offensive line, trust me, these guys were physical. They're going to be physical. They're going to continue to be physical. Ohio State plays on turf. Everybody plays on turf. Everyone, like, there is no team that I really know of that does not really play on field turf. Like, most of the SEC teams are in the South are on grass because you can go grass 24 hours a day, 365 a year, right? It's a little different. But, you know, I think the misconception is the Browns have been back since 1999, and they've been playing outside. They ain't used none of that to no advantage at no point in time. I mean, they didn't win the Super Bowl. They didn't been to the AFC Championship game. And when is the last time we had home field playoff games to even exercise that said outdoor advantage?
I'll take it one step further because we love to use the Browns as the example, right? And the Browns are kind of a hard one to do because Browns are stuck. Like, if it was hot or cold outside from 99 to 2017, the Browns were probably going to lose because the Browns stunk.
It wasn't no good.
I would make this argument. Since, like, the start of this century, when has it really ever benefited a team to be a cold weather football team?
And I could go to the Green Bay Packers and watch this. The Green Bay Packers lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At home, it was cold. The Green Bay Packers lost to the New York Giants at home during the Eli Manning raid, and it was cold. The Green Bay Packers lost to the Falcons, a dome team in Mike Vick, in the playoffs, and it was cold. Like, it hasn't really worked for you guys like that. It's not a thing. Like, I don't understand that. It doesn't make you soft. The fact that, like, think about it. Do you want your team to be able to throw the football? If you got a good team, you want them to be able to win it on the field, not play a sloppy game and have both teams be horrible, but you can outlast them in the cold weather and off the lake. I want to see Nick Chubb be able to cut. I want to see Deshaun Watson throw the football. I want to see my playmakers not have to worry about making footing mistakes rather than catching the ball and winning football games. I don't understand how that serves a purpose.
Even more of a thing to say about the Aaron Rodgers era, right? Because I think this doesn't get brought up enough. Aaron Rodgers has only won one Super Bowl and been to one Super Bowl, and you can say part of that's because he got home field advantage a lot. The one year he won the Super Bowl was one year he was a 6th seed, right? Now, in that year, I believe they played Philly at Philly, so, you know, that's outdoorsy. The best game that offense had in that postseason was in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome. They put up 49 points. They put up 21 in Green Bay. I mean, not in Green Bay. They put up 21 in Philadelphia and 21 against Chicago. And then they put up 31 points in Cowboys Stadium against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The argument that the cold weather is an advantage is not even a good argument for good football teams.
Right.
It was a disadvantage for the Buffalo Bills to play in the cold against the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a disadvantage for a lot of these teams who have had cold weathers. Like, maybe people can point to Kansas City playing outside. That was a advantage for them, right? Because Miami or whatever it is, but
they lost to Cincinnati in the cold weather game when Joe Burrow beat them and they was calling it Burrowhead. It wasn't, it doesn't help anybody, bro. Like it just doesn't.
Well, and also I think sometimes like we act like home field advantage is like this 80% like you should win thing. Home field advantage is like a couple percent boost, right? Like, okay, whatever your chances are, you get like, depending on what your home field advantage is, up to like a plus 5% boost to win that game. And what really helps, and you can tell because this is what coaches prepare for more than anything, is noise. Right? Like, I don't know if y'all have ever had to, you in your college career, you played against somebody where that noise was going to be an issue, but the whole week, that's all that's on everybody's mind is y'all know it's loud, right? Like, I remember watching Youngstown State before they went to North Dakota State. Mm-hmm. North Dakota State had the dome. It was like 30,000 people. They scream. It's the loudest venue in the FCS. It's one of the loudest venues in all of college football. The way that they would freak out about that noise thing, like being a factor, tell me everything that I needed to know about what actually affects games. Because when they went to like Eastern Washington, where it was really cold, okay. It wasn't that big of a deal. They were able to win. Or like South Dakota, where it's super cold, right? There's no dome, South Dakota State, in Brookings. No, they're not doing a lot of prep about that. But they go inside and that noise, that's really what a home field advantage can provide you.
And I'll say this. It's noise and then precipitation. Because if it's a wet football, like then it's you got to worry about putting it on the turf. You got to worry about, can you throw the football? Can you run your downfield passing game? Like those things are the kicking game is an issue. Those things are more of a problem than the sheer cold weather. Like, you know,
even that, and I think the thing that matters with this conversation is a wet football is wet for both teams.
Yes.
A loud crowd is only loud for one team, right? Like, I think it's not really a home field advantage because the ball is wet, because it's not like the ball dry for you.
Yeah.
It's not like the Rays like, oh, the Browns on, let me chill. Let me chill. All right, hold it up. It's not like you open and close the dome to let the water fall. Like, that's not how any of that works. So it's like, for me, I'm like, when people talk about weather being an advantage or disadvantage for a team, it's just going to be a thing that gets in both teams' ways. And sometimes being able to predict what teams will have difficulty with that and what teams won't is impossible. Sometimes the Saints will come in and win a game where it's negative 13 degrees on the road because they were able to do it. Sometimes you ain't going to be able to do that, right?
They did that 2 years ago against the Browns. They came in, it was the worst weather. We were literally at that game. Like, I was like, I was doing a pregame. I said, literally, this is the worst weather I've ever seen. And guess what? The Saints came in, a dome team, and they beat the Browns. They ran the ball more.
This is to say this, and then we'll move on from this topic. I think a lot of the calculations that go into how weather affects teams or how you can prepare for weather to be a better team, it's just junk science. Like, it's just junk. It's like, oh, we think because this team has a lot of dudes from Florida, they can't play in the cold. That ain't true. We think because this team plays in the cold all the time that they like the cold. You know who hates the cold? People who in the cold a lot, right? Versus somebody who's like, ooh, it's the first time it's been this cold all year, right? You don't know. There's no way of knowing. There's no way of predicting it. Yeah, it's just cold. And that coldness is going to affect both sides in different ways, in ways that aren't easy to predict. And if you could get rid of that element and then have it enhance the actual home field advantage, which is crowd noise, which is controllable for who you want it to affect, right? Wet ball, rain, can't control that. Wet field, snow, can't control who that's going to affect. But loud noise, you can do that, right?
And I think it's a dome. They can bring back the best elements of what the Browns used to be. The home field advantage is the dog pound. The home field advantage is the loud noise, and they could bring that back when you do have a dome. And that's one of the areas I think that they can capitalize off of.
Mm-hmm. And you saw that they had that dog pound super steep. That's going to look intimidating on the field because this is going to be a wall of people. I think some soccer club does something like that, and it looks really cool. I got to find the picture and put it up on screen. But yeah, I think maybe some people have a dated notion of the whole dome team, or honestly, if we're all keeping it real, it's just different. And some people don't different, right? And they find any reason to grasp onto for it to be different. But let's be honest, most of these people mad about the dome. They get that first false start penalty on Pittsburgh in that first game there. Oh yeah, you gonna like it.
Oh, cute. When they break ground.
Or that first shot of that dog pound going crazy and it's super steep. And then people be like, wow, that's kind of scary. Like the first time you see that noise is really going to be effective, I don't think people are going to
I'd go a step further. First time they get that one shovel of dirt and they done broke ground out there, people will be in. Because it's like, oh, okay. It's a real thing now. So I might as well get on board.
All right. Talking about things that aren't real, let's talk about Brandon Aiyuk being traded. Still hasn't happened yet. Now, who knows? Who knows? I might have jinxed it because he might get announced. I saw you on
Twitter with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I seen you going back and forth.
What are you talking about?
I thought I could have swore you said you was talking to Steelers people. You was like, because remember it was reported the Steelers was out, and then you was like, the Steelers kind of salty. And then the Steelers got back in.
I was posting them baby boy clips.
Yeah. I seen them. you troll, you.
Hey man, those licks is good. While
they was licking.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what is going on with this Aiyuk thing. And I don't want to really focus on the ins and outs because I feel like that situation will handle itself eventually. Mm-hmm. But have you ever seen a situation this weird?
Not really. Where not really in football, because football, generally speaking, like the way it works is, in basketball players have all the leverage. They'll come out, they could have signed a 2-year deal yesterday and be like, listen, I don't care what I told you I signed, but I need to be traded tomorrow. And it gets real ugly real quick, and then they got to pivot and trade the guys. Usually in the NFL, there's not really much leverage for NFL players. It's like, you gonna play out this contract, and then we could franchise tag you 2 more times. I mean, Dak Prescott still ain't got a deal. I keep thinking every single year he ain't got another long-term deal. So it's kind of weird and strange that the 49ers are moving at this pace. But I think Kyle Shanahan is kind of like, I'm annoyed. To me, he's a guy that's like easily annoyed by things like that. Like he's like, nah, I ain't got no time for this. So he gives them opportunity to go, make a deal. So it's on 2 fronts, right? So Brandon Aiyuk wants the money. So him and his agent have to negotiate a deal which they can accept. But at the same time, it's almost like the San Francisco 49ers still control them. So the compensation package got to be right for them. So it's like you got to appease 2 things. You got to give him enough money that in a long-term deal that he's cool with. And the 49ers need compensation, which puts the Cleveland Browns in a very weird, unique, like, I guess, opportunity space because they have exactly what would appease it. The Browns have draft picks. The Browns do have a receiver that is comparable to Brandon Aiyuk and Amari Cooper, who is a really good locker room guy, can come in and do what he needs to do immediately. And they've shown the penchant to give money because they do want to get a little younger to the position, and they find the Browns are willing to give people some bread and roll the dice a little bit. So it's like it's the natural option, and it sets up that way. But the crazy part about it is, in a football way, I don't understand why Brandon Aiyuk kind of would prefer the Steelers from what I'm hearing, because you have a quarterback situation where I don't know which one of those guys are going to start. It's not the best quarterback situation in the world. You already have George Pickens, and he complains about getting the rock a lot. And what happens if you sign there long term and Russell Wilson don't work out, Justin Fields don't work out? You're back drafting rookies. Is that the best football situation to be in? It's a little strange from a lot of different parts, but like you said, I'll say this to end it. if we end up with just Amari Cooper playing football games, I'm all for it. Like, I'm not pressed to do nothing right now. Like, I ain't got to go out and kick it. I'm cool with staying in the house with my girl and we go watch a little movie. I don't need to go outside and go to a club. Like, I'm cool with that. I don't know where you land on it, but I don't think the Browns are desperate.
Yeah, this is the awkward spot I think the 49ers are in, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are in, and I think Brandon Aiyuk is in. The Browns don't really got to go crazy. Now, if they want him, they want him. This is their opportunity to get him. They can go get him if they want. They know what the price is going to be for him, too. And if you want a wide receiver, you want to get him as early as possible because the price seems to be going crazy for wide receivers. I did a whole video about why I don't think these prices make sense anymore. But, yeah, if the Browns want him, they can get him. But, like, if they don't get him, it's not a big deal. They're still a really good team. They didn't need Brandon Aiyuk to become a championship contender. Pittsburgh is in a situation where they could use him. Mm-hmm. But honestly, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'd rather get him next year in free agency because you know what you're going to do at quarterback, right? I've heard reports that the plan is to see what Russ is and hopefully give Russ an extension. Yeah, that's what they're saying coming out of Pittsburgh.
Hey, go ahead. Hey, y'all do your thing, Pittsburgh. Do your thing, fam.
I recognize that as a horrible idea from watching years of the Browns do similar things like that at quarterback. But if they're going to see if Russ is worth it and try to give him an extension if they feel like he's worth it. We are pretty sure about how that's likely going to go.
Yes.
Justin Fields probably going to play. They're probably going to end up drafting like somebody, yes. Right? So I would rather be like, hey, we got a young quarterback. Let's get Brandon Aiyuk now that we have somebody on a rookie deal. But it wouldn't hurt him to make the move now. San Fran has done so much back and forth with Aiyuk. It feels like it's almost impossible to bring him back at this point.
Because they know they're going to sign him next year.
Yeah, and here's the quagmire that they're in. If Pittsburgh really wanted him, and if Aiyuk really wanted Pittsburgh, this would have been done. Not Twitter account says it's done. Like, actually done. Right? This would have been actually done a while ago. If that was the case. Something doesn't make sense in that. And I'll say the same thing with Cleveland. If the report is that Cleveland has a good framework and Cleveland's willing to offer the money and Aiyuk ain't in Cleveland, somebody don't want to be in Cleveland. Like, that's the only math I can do. Unless the reports about the contract being what Aiyuk wants is wrong, then why isn't he here?
The math ain't mathing.
None of the math is mathing on this Aiyuk situation. And I think that's why it's taking so long. Because it's just like,
you think it's his agent? You think this is a smokescreen? Because I haven't heard like no reputable up top dudes give me the concrete. Because usually they can say, here's what the years are, here's what the players are involved with, what's holding this up.
Okay, so I don't think it's the agent. I think it is the fact that Aiyuk is kind of weird. Like, I just from what I've gathered, I think the dude's kind of weird. Not in a bad way, right? You can be weird, and that's eccentric. Not a bad thing. He's an odd fellow, right? And he might not be the best guy to be put in a situation to make a decision. And I think he don't know what he wanted to.
Wishy-washy, huh?
I think Aiyuk could wake up tomorrow and say he wants to play for the 49ers. I think he could wake up the next day and say he wants to play for the Steelers. I think he could wake up the next day and decide, hey, man, let's get the Commanders back in this. Like, I just think this dude is all over the place on what he wants to do because nothing about how he's handled his offseason feels like it's been choreographed, right? It doesn't feel like there's been a great plan behind it. So, like, does he want to go to Pittsburgh? Does Pittsburgh want him? I don't know. Because, like, if I were Pittsburgh, if you really want him, Like, if this is somebody that you're going to justify paying $30+ million to.
But by the way, Pittsburgh, I don't remember Pittsburgh breaking the bank for no wide receivers. I mean,
no, they've never done it. This would be a new move for them to operate. Like they would have never have done that in franchise history for a lot of different offensive players. I mean, that's almost what they were paying Ben back in the day. It is like, if you want somebody that bad, like you're saying, if you pay somebody over $28 million a year, you're saying that's a franchise player. Right, that's what Miles and TJ get paid. That's what Nick Bosa gets paid. Right, so
let's get down to the brass tacks. Is he?
That's the question I think Pittsburgh's asking, because they're not operating as if they feel like this is a franchise player. Because if they felt like this was a franchise player, like, I don't think this trade talk goes on this long. I don't think Pittsburgh's this stubborn if this conversation is about Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson,
even Tyreek Hill,
or CeeDee Lamb.
No,
right? I don't think this conversation goes on as long. But for some reason with Brandon Aiyuk, it does. And I think that's fair. Like, I think Brandon Aiyuk is somebody who's in a different tier of wide receivers than the one we mentioned. Still really good. Technically would be an upgrade from Amari Cooper if you get him. But I don't see him as being Devontae Adams yet, or A.J. Brown yet. I think he can get there eventually. But I think there's a lot of projection involved there.
He's a Devontae Smith to me.
You think he's a Tay Smith? I think he's better than that.
I mean, he's at the top of Devontae Smith, Waddle. Let me throw another dude out. Even if you put Amari Cooper in that range, T. Higgins in that range, right?
I think he's at, like, if we're just talking about what he does on a Sunday, him and Amari Cooper are pretty similar.
Yeah.
He's just 26.
That's it.
Right. So the projection is that he could get better. This is where I always have to caution people. A lot of the times we'll see somebody play good football when they're 26 and think, oh, they're just going to get better.
Maybe that's
Amari
silly.
Cooper's a good example, because you know who was good like Amari Cooper when he was 26? Amari Cooper was good like that when he was 26. And, 4 years later, he's still Amari Cooper. Now, do you think 4 years of Amari Cooper production is worth $30+ million? I would say hell no. I don't think it is. Like, I think it's worth 26, 27 is probably the max you could ever get me to go a year. And I wouldn't go over 10% of the cap for one wide receiver. Like, that's just me. I don't think it makes sense to pay what projects to be 13.7% of the salary cap for one wide receiver. Let's put it like this. Who do you think was the most effective player on the 49ers offense? Like, when the Browns played them, who were you worried about the most?
Well, at the beginning, I thought I was worried about Deebo Samuel. He leaves the game. But I would say Christian McCaffrey.
Here's the thing, man. This is what I don't get about this whole conversation when it comes to the money. Christian McCaffrey. We're all acknowledging, hey, if you say Brock Purdy should win the MVP, it should have been Christian McCaffrey, right? Like, that was one of the arguments. Christian McCaffrey, he runs, he receives, he blocks, right? All three phases of the offense. That's worth $15 million. Somehow Brandon Aiyuk is worth 32. And don't disrespect to Brandon Aiyuk.
Because if tomorrow it becomes, we'll be excited. We'll be like, hey, the Browns got it better. We're not going to say how much better, but we'll be excited about it. We're not going to lie.
You got better for this year. Yeah. I would have concerns about the future. Like, I've been pretty clear on where I stand here. If you do it, okay, let's see how that shakes out. That's a lot of money for a quarterback and a wide receiver, right? Mm-hmm. Like, usually you don't pay a $35 million wide receiver when you also have a $45 million quarterback, right? Like, I do think that is a lot. Is there $90 million between two?
Is there any chance in your mind that the Browns get Brandon Aiyuk without giving up Amari Cooper?
Yeah, I think that's more likely that they can
now, if that happens, love the move.
Yeah, I love it for right now too. Like, that will definitely make you a better football team.
Yeah,
but I also think the issue with the Aiyuk thing is not about right now. My issue, at least, is not about right now. It's about what happens in 2027, right? Like, what happens in 2028? What if, like, I don't want to get in a situation where we Tobias Harris ourselves, right? Where we can't get better because we gave Tobias Harris all this damn money, right? Because that's what happened with Philly. If we talk about basketball, they couldn't keep Jimmy. Why couldn't they keep Jimmy? Because they paid Tobias Harris, right? Like, that's where it made you better that year, for sure, right? When you had Jimmy and Toby. Oh, yeah. That was the 1 year that the Sixers could have won it all. But every year after that, you just sitting there like, dog, if they didn't pay Toby.
Like, well, here's the thing. I do think that you're going to let, there's some people that's going to be let go. Eventually, Amari Cooper's deal will be off the books next year. You probably will let one of the guards go in the next couple of years. So there will be some money coming back into the coffers. But I do see what you're saying. For this year, I would say if they did get him somehow, I'd be willing. I don't want to use a first round pick though. I would be willing to give him a 2 and a 3 and some things. But
here's also the other awkward part of this whole thing. If Aiyuk don't want to go nowhere but Pittsburgh,
that's on him to figure out.
But that if the only place he wants to negotiate is with Pittsburgh don't got to change that offer. But here's the thing. Why would you take that offer if you're the 49ers?
That's another reason. San Francisco's not. They're like, listen, bro. We say go work out go work something out, but we gotta be comfortable with what's coming back. And to be truthful, the Browns can offer more than what Pittsburgh can, and I know they're willing.
That's what's out there. The Browns have offered more than what Pittsburgh has. The Browns. So here's the ultimate. Here's where I think this is going to head. In my opinion, if I'm just spitballing, I think there's a couple ways. Either he just plays out his contract like normal.
Be a free agent next year. He
goes to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh ups the offer. Or they work out a rework deal where Aiyuk gets a little bit of more money. And then, or maybe not that much more money, but he gets a no tag clause. So he guarantees that he's going to get into free agency next year, right? You're not going to franchise tag him. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't even need to have that in writing. Always get it in writing. But maybe they say they agree that they're not going to tag him, right? They may put that out there. We're not going to tag you. Handshake on it. Brandon Aiyuk plays again. Because honestly, if I'm Brandon Aiyuk and you're this damn picky about where you want to play, right? That all of a sudden Washington's out. All of a sudden New England's out. Yeah. Like Cleveland's still there, but like I don't think so. It doesn't make sense that we're still there. And then, like, it seems like you want to go to Pittsburgh, but since you have made it clear you're only willing to go to Pittsburgh has no reason to up this offer, which makes it less likely that you're going to end up in Pittsburgh.
So let me throw this out to you. I know we're going long here, but let me just throw this to you. There was one person that I know back in the day when we were doing trades and different things who said that the Browns were out at one point in time. And then the Browns came back and said, oh, how's about that number on the paper? And he was like, oh, well, I knew I was talking to Miami and New Orleans and Atlanta, but 234 sounds crazy. Let's talk. Is that something that is in the air a little bit when you listen to Brandon Aiyuk? They're like, listen, if they want me that bad, they've shown that they will overpay if they want somebody that bad. Or do you think that's just different because it's a quarterback?
It's just different. It's a quarterback. Like the Browns gave Deshaun Watson as much noise people made about that contract. 45 was what, third or fourth highest in the NFL? Mm-hmm. Per average annual salary for a guy that they did not think that they're going to have to cut, right? Yeah. Like, so the guarantee part of it, it's more about Jimmy's willingness to put the money down than it is about how much money was actually in the deal. So I don't think and this might be a hot take, I just don't think that the contract had as much to do with the sway for Deshaun Watson here as many people assume. I think somebody got in Deshaun's ear about legacy. Like, somebody, I don't know if it was from Cleveland, I don't know if it's from his own camp, but they got in his ear about legacy. They got in his ear about, and this is just my speculation, about how important winning is for his current situation. And they pointed out that it ain't like Carolina about to make it happen. Mm-mm. And the team you want to go to, Atlanta, look at that situation, right? I think somebody made the point of, don't you want to win? And I think that carried a lot of weight. Now, the contract, hey, look, we're going to lock this up. We're going to show some faith. We're going to do that extra mile to make sure that got locked up. I think that had something to do with it for sure. But if it really had everything to do with it, then that quote about Arthur Blank not getting the chance to match would have never came out. Because that's where I'm like, it falls apart for that argument is like, if he really wanted to go to Atlanta, but the Browns just offered him a can't say no deal, he would have just asked Arthur Blank for that money.
Yeah, like anytime in the negotiations, when somebody give you that bag and you say, okay, well, this is a lot of money. If this was what the going rate is, let me ask this other billionaire for the same thing to see if it really is. I could probably he could have got more. You say, yo, give me 240.
I think somebody convinced him, and hopefully, rightfully so, that this was a team that is more equipped to win a championship than the other two options. But that's what Deshaun was thinking. I don't even know if Brandon Aiyuk cares about, like, we keep bringing up about the quarterback stuff and all this. I don't know what Brandon Aiyuk think of Deshaun Watson.
I don't know what he thinks about a lot of things.
I don't know what he think about Ken Dorsey, right? Like, I don't know, dude. And from what I know about dude, he's pretty erratic. Like, he just says stuff sometimes. So I say all that to say, with this whole Brandon Aiyuk thing, I just think that this is probably a headache for everybody involved, except for Brandon Aiyuk. Which means
percent chance it happens.
What, like to Pittsburgh for the Browns?
No, to Cleveland, to the Browns.
It's like a smooth 10. 10%.
Opposed to a rough 10?
It's a smooth 10.
Like, so you're down to 10%.
Like, if it happened, here's how I would look on my phone for a smooth 10 if it happens. Oh, all right. I gotta find out the details.
Right.
Now, if it's a rough 10 or lower, I gotta start Googling. Yeah. I gotta start searching. I gotta start texting people to confirm shit. Like, just, the thought of it doesn't blow my mind at this point. And honestly, I feel like he's probably going to Pittsburgh, but this taking so long makes the narratives coming out of Pittsburgh make less sense every day he's not on the team.
Yeah.
Because this does not sound like somebody who's eager to join Pittsburgh. Now, maybe we'll find out by who doesn't play and who does play in the preseason, who's going to get moved. Maybe we'll find out by the end of Friday. I tend to believe that this is going to be a Friday news dump situation. If this is a Friday news dump situation, it's probably going to be a very underwhelming, he's staying in San Francisco.
And just wait to pick. Hey, I don't know. Hey, listen, it seems like he should just say, listen, don't franchise me next year. I'm going to get to free agency and just take deals.
Or trade talks just completely break down. Because this is what it sounds like is happening. This feels like a trade talk that's about to break down.
After a certain point in time, teams they're getting ready for the season. Like, we're not about to be doing this a week, 2 before the season, because you got to think about it. My big issue with it was, look, at least I know Mari Cooper know what he's doing, with Rossi running. Do I really want to run this back? And I got a new offensive coordinator, a new guy in Dorsey, a new dude in Jerry Jeudy who ain't really been out there. And I got to get all these dudes on the same page? No, man, I'm not about to do that starting with week 1, a week left before we go play opening game against the Cowboys. No, at some point, you want to know who's in, who's out, and let's get it done.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Look, anything can happen with this Aiyuk thing. I just don't think the Browns are that realistic of a possibility anymore, because if it don't make sense that it's taking this long for Pittsburgh, it really don't make sense that it's taking this long for Cleveland.
I think they're just doing their due diligence. I think they're fine with Amari Cooper. They're okay going in. And I think most fans are too. Most fans are like, oh, all right, well, we got Amari Cooper ready to go. He's back in the fold. Let's see what this offense looks like. Our big move was Jerry Jeudy. Let's see what, like we set, we good. Like if they want to, if we going to come up on a deal, a little something, I'm about to buy no Jordans today. But they was $89. They was retros for $89. I got to get their retros for $89. Like, come on now. I'm not, so it is what it is.
The longer this goes on, the more I think of a Mike Tomlin quote: "We want volunteers, not hostages."
I like volunteers. I want people to be here too. And people in Cleveland, that's the number one grievance. If you sound or smell like you don't want to be here, they're going to eviscerate you. They're going to call
and
you
if I'm ready Aiyuk, bro, I would have come here because it's already bad for you, dog. Like, they already are upset. Like, you're not. I saw what happened to Odell, and Odell didn't even do nothing at all.
That was didn't even do interviews. It was. I seen the way they.
Odell didn't even hold out. He just got traded, and like 2 months into it, people was already mad at him. Look, Aiyuk, you should stay out there in San Francisco or go to Pittsburgh, because the second that people heard that you prefer Pittsburgh over Cleveland, I don't think a lot of people will go let that one go. Now, there's going to be people willing to let that go, like the more football oriented of us.
Yeah, like
we hey, dog, let you drop a pass. Like,
listen, or I think this deal looks a lot better if Amari Cooper, they don't have to give Amari Cooper up. I think everybody jumps for joy. We do backflips. We do our victory laps in our circles, because then I can literally say the Cleveland Browns could possibly have the best receiving core if Jerry Jeudy does something. Can you imagine like the offense with him and Njoku? And if you get a Nick Chubb, you've already said, you're on record, Nick Chubb is coming back at 1,800.
Who, me?
you listen, Nick
Chubb. Don't do that. Don't do that, because people believe that. People believe that. Somebody will argue with me in November about that take that I did not have.
But listen, but Quincy showed him doing these squats. He said he's different. Nick Chubb different. Shoot, he about to different mean 1,200 next year.
The amount of times I see somebody like straw man me, like, and I'm just sitting here discovering stuff I never said. I'm like, I ain't never said that. But you sure made a great argument against it, bud. Like,
but when did I come out and say that? Like, listen, hey, look, I told
somebody made a whole argument based on the fact that I said Baltimore was going to make the playoffs last year. I'm like, I don't think there's recorded evidence of me saying that.
Show me that clip.
All these videos. But you know what? If I did say that, you did make a good argument, but hypothetically speaking, but come on, dog. I ain't say that shit. Like, why you acting like I said that shit?
I didn't say that. I wasn't even there. I wasn't there. That was G. Bush. Remember, G. Bush said that. He just says G. Bush said that.
I don't even know if G. Bush said that. I just feel like you wanted to argue against that, and you just decided that you was going to argue me.
That was where it was coming. Like, that's when you know you made it, bro. When you get arguments brought to your table in your front door, and they be like, "Yeah, you said that." You be like, "No, I never. No one ever said that. That was not a thing."
Just argue with yourself, But anyways, G, always enjoy having you on. Do you have any final predictions about? I need three predictions so this video can age poorly. When does the Brandon Aiyuk trade happen? When does the Browns Stadium get announced?
After the first preseason game.
When does the Browns Stadium? When does that open? And who gonna call the plays in 2025? You double or nothing.
I'm gonna go with. Dang, this is crazy. I'm gonna go with 2029. The stadium gonna open.
Right.
Next Wednesday is when Brandon Aiyuk will get traded.
Damn, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. They got to get through that first preseason game. Huh?
Where to?
I want to say, to be truthful, I want to say Pittsburgh, but
I wouldn't be surprised if this breaks down to the point where like a random team gets involved.
I wouldn't be surprised if he back in San Francisco, to be honest with you.
Or like Denver.
Yeah. That's wild. Like you did all that to go to Denver. You did all of that to go to Denver. And then who's calling the plays next year? Since I think the Browns is going to do all right this year, and I think Deshaun Watson going to give you that 4,000 plus, I'll say Stefanski's still going to call the plays next year. Now, here's my thing. Are they going to move it to a hybrid Eric Bieniemy type call where, like, he calls 42% of the plays and Stefanski calls the other ones? Yeah,
no.
What do you mean no?
No.
He can't get 42?
No.
He can't get short yardage?
Why would you want to do that? This is like splitting up the play sheet is like when your parents make you play a one-player game with two people. Like, don't nobody want to do that. When you want to play Grand Theft Auto with two people, you got sharing the controller. Let him drive. You can shoot. What?
Hey,
I'm not about to do that.
But Dorsey, hey, listen, if they successful this year, you think he ain't gonna want to do nothing?
He could do something whenever he get a head coaching job somewhere else.
Oh, you didn't see. You know what? You didn't strip him of everything. He can't even call. He a coordinator now. He can't even do what coordinators do.
The way people are talking about Deshaun Watson, if he gets 4,000 yards out of Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson gets like back into the top 5 quarterback conversation, somebody gonna hire his ass.
Yeah, hey, listen. Hey,
immediately.
Ken, when he asks you what you want, tell him to throw the bomb. Like, that's the only way you get out of jail, bro.
Think about this like this. If he brings back Deshaun Watson after his resume with Josh Allen, you telling me some desperate team ain't about them? What you telling me? The Carolina Panthers ain't going? Hey man, do you want to fix Bryce Young? Like,
I see what you putting down.
Yeah, he gonna get that job.
Is Dorsey gonna get to call the plays in the preseason?
I mean, maybe the last one, but don't nobody care. Man, but honestly, there's a better chance they didn't give that to Duke Staley.
Man, you stingy, Q. Why you being so stingy with the plays, man? You being stingy.
I'm not the one being stingy. I'm just letting you know how that goes, dog.
You and your boy Stefanski being stingy with the plays.
I'm being stingy. What you mean? Wait, this is like letting somebody order like a side of some food you about to eat. Like, why?
He said, "Hey, he said that they cooking the meal together. Why would he not? They cooking the meal together, right? So why can't he have the spicy Italian sausage rather than the regular one?
Because somebody got to make the menu.
From what I heard, he's on the menu.
We can collaborate. I can see what you can do, Cam. Here's what happens, Cam. What can you cook? Oh, you can make spicy? Okay, yeah. I'll figure out how to use your skills the best. You know why? Because I'm the head coach. That's my job. It's to figure out how to put your skills to best use.
Hey, see that?
That's why.
This what happened when you give coaches extensions.
That's why.
Hey, he was all for it when he went and had that extension. They signed that contract. Nope. I ain't doing that.
Look, if Ken Dorsey knew how to use his skills the best, he wouldn't be available. And that's why that's what Kevin got to say to him.
You know what? I got to go. You know what? I ain't playing with you.
Hey, dirty. Dog.
You dirty.
Dog, that's what it is. You like came and took this opportunity under me knowing you are an offensive guy, I'm an offensive guy, because you know that there's some things that you can learn from me. So that's what we going to do. You going to help me, but, you know, it's going to be my offense still. Like this. Come on.
They should have never gave you.
Think Kevin about to be out here seeing his play calling, like giving up his play calls on weekends. Like, no, he's not about to share custody. Why?
What about co-parenting? Ain't no co-parenting. No co-parenting. No co-parenting. I can't come. Like, come on, man. I'm supposed to be.
Why we talk about visitation when they still in the same house? You can see them on weekends. We live together. Like, what you talking about?
That's why I mess with y'all. That's why I mess with y'all, man.
No, you ain't giving that up. Bro, you can't know what it is. I get 1-2 years out of Deshaun Watson where he looks good. I'm about to come out here and be the hottest coach on the market. That's what it is. That's what this is. Why do you think Mike Vrabel here? Mike Vrabel here so he can stand in front of Myles Garrett, get a couple clips on mic'd up. You know, he definitely gonna be in that end season Hard Knocks, dropping dimes to Myles Garrett.
Dropping knowledge.
So when Myles Garrett wins another Defensive Player of the Year, he'd be like, "Yeah, I helped," and then he could get another job.
Well, listen, Vrabel is always gonna get another job. Let's be clear. He was always gonna get another job, but
now he can get another job with the raise that he wanted in Tennessee. Okay, that's what he can get. Because we don't talk about contracts, coach contracts as far as money goes. But let me tell you something. Hiring Mike Vrabel is not the same thing as hiring a Joe Schmo coordinator.
That's hidden figures. Like we don't even talk about their bread. It's hidden figures with them. Mm-hmm. I agree. I
tell you, yeah, the reason Mike Vrabel was not considered for a head coaching job is because Mike Vrabel has a price. That man been to a conference championship game, multiple playoff berths, had y'all believing Ryan Tannehill could be an MVP candidate.
He was cooking.
Y'all
for like
still
6
trying
months.
to see if Arthur Smith still got it.
He was cooking for 6 months. Tannehill was. I'll tell you what, he was.
Yeah,
let me to a fantasy championship one year.
How much Ryan Day make? What, 12 million?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Mike getting that 20. That's what Mike here to stand next to him be like, yeah, I did something with Myles Garrett, and then boom, give me that 20. He might get it from Tennessee.
Come on, Barry. What kind of magic that is to fire you, then give you a raise to come back the next year? Hey, that's wild.
Would it not be the right decision?
That's wild.
Would it not be the right decision?
I need you to find yourself. You got to find yourself if you do that. You got to actually you should lose draft picks. You got to give a 6th round pick for that. That's crazy.
It would be the right move. Sorry. Come back. But G, thank you for being on the show today. Everybody else, y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.